Good morning. Good morning, second hour. How we doing out there? Our second week of the third rotation begins. We're almost done, right? We only got this week and then next week. And is next week a full week? Is it? It is a full week. Next week is a full week, all right? But we are almost nearing the end of AP macroeconomics, people. Sad times, sad times. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun end of the rotation in the last 2 weeks. It's gonna be cool, and we got the holidays just around the corner, which will be pretty nice. But yeah, how you guys doing out there? How was your weekend? You guys have a good weekend? Did you have a good weekend out there? Oh no. All right, people. I have a lot of announcements for you guys today. A lot of announcements, and honestly, we're not going to do a whole lot on the stream today. We're not. There's not a whole lot to lecture about. Bank balance sheets. I did the 3 bank balance sheet FRQs that were ever asked, so I don't really have any other FRQs to go off of. So what I'm going to do on the stream today, your content today, is going to be I'm going to go over problem set 4.5, what you received on Friday. So I think I looked at it. About half of you guys have completed it, half of you guys have not completed it. I'm going to go over it anyway. So, you know, it's kind of unfortunate if you have not done it yet, but it's not due until tonight. So, but I want you guys to have that practice. But I'm going to go over that problem set just to get you in shape for problem set 4.6, which I actually already posted today. You guys all here? No one's responded in the chat yet. But 4.6 is going to be 2 bank balance sheets items, right? And they're basically a lot like the bank balance sheet that you guys saw on 4.5. So I'm going to go over 4.5. You guys are going to do 4.6, 2 of them today. And then I also posted a Unit 4 review sheet. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But that's not going to be due until Wednesday. That's not going to be due until Wednesday. We've got Zayd and Taylor in the house. That's what I'm talking about. Annabeth is in the house, right? So a lot of things. And also I need to talk about junior interviews. I need to talk about junior interviews. You know, there was long talk of them being canceled. They weren't canceled, right? We have to do them. But people, I looked at them. They're super easy. You should definitely be able to do it in the next 2 weeks at some point. It's, you know, I was told allocated an hour of your time. I think it's going to be even less than that, right? I think it's like all 10 minutes of your time, right? So I'll talk about that here in a second. And then the other announcement is your Unit 3 test retakes. I posted them on Saturday. I meant to post it on Friday, but I just never did it. I never actually hit assign, but I had it on there. So I posted on Saturday. So that being said, your Unit 3 test retake is not due until Thursday. It's not due until Thursday. So remember, right? There's no you can't be hurt in any way for taking the retake, right? I take the best of the 2 scores. So, you know, try and see if you can better your score from last time. Go on to Go Formative and take that Unit 3 test again, and you know, take your time on it. Right, you have a lot of days to take it. Right, don't submit the test unless you are confident that all your answers are good. Right, so look over everything twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then you hit submit, because that is the last time you can better your Unit 3 test score. All right. Unit 4, the Unit 4 test is going to be most likely posted on Wednesday or Thursday this week. All right, we are almost done with Unit 4. In fact, our last Unit 4 concept is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be the loanable funds market. So my game plan is this week. Today, more practice bank balance sheets. Tomorrow, learn about loanable funds, the last graph for Unit 4, and it's not that complex. And then Wednesday, we'll have a Unit 4 review day. We'll have a Unit 4 review day, and I'm going to go over the FRQs that I attached onto your Unit 4 review sheet. Right? That's why I posted it today. I want you guys to have the opportunity to complete all those FRQs. Right? That way on Wednesday I can go over those FRQs and you can kind of, you know, assess where you're at and see what you're struggling on, and you know, and kind of go from there, and then go ahead and take the Unit 4 test if you feel ready. You know, during Wednesday's class perhaps, right? So, and then Thursday we're going to start Unit 5, and Unit 5 is very, very small. It really shouldn't even be a unit, but it's separate from everything else. Unit 5 is all about international trade and foreign exchange. So Thursday and Friday we're going to talk about this idea of balance of payments. Monday, Tuesday, We're going to talk about foreign exchange, and maybe that bleeds on to Wednesday of the following week, and then Thursday, Friday, we're pretty much going to be done, right? So you guys will take the Unit 5 test then, and I don't know if we're going to have final exams this year. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But if we have a final exam, you know, I'm going to make it 200 multiple choice questions. No, I'm just kidding. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I wouldn't be too worried about final exams, at least in my class. Maybe in other classes, but in my class, I want you guys focused on Unit 4 test, Unit 5 test, and then if we are required to give final exams, we'll figure something out. You know, something that's fun, right? Something that's not, you know, taking multiple choice questions and all that, all right? So, we're almost done, people. I ask you, just please finish strong here. Finish strong, right? And then, you know, give it all you got, right? And then that way, hours 1, 2, and 3 are done. You can enjoy holiday break, and you can come back, grind out the last 3 hours of your schedule, and then that's first semester in the books of entire, you know, online learning, which is definitely, you know, not easy, right? I commend you guys for working so hard during these times. All right. Okay. All right. So let me take you guys over to here real quick. Well, actually, here, let me post the attendance in the chat. That way, you guys have time to do that. And then while I talk about other announcements, then I'll end with that. All right. So your attendance in the chat today is, what do you like most about holiday break? Right. I know that all of you guys don't celebrate the holidays that are coming up, but you know, being off of school, right, late December, right? What do you like most about holiday break? And it can pertain to the holidays, and it doesn't have to pertain to the holidays, but what do you like about, you know, this time of the year? What is special about this time of the year? Because for me, it's pretty nostalgic. I love just everything about, you know, late December, and it's tough to come back in January, people. It is very tough to come back and return to school in January. I love the end of December. All right, so while you guys are doing that, please focus on these very important announcements. So first, I want to talk about junior interviews, right? Because that's, you know, I kind of hit you guys with a curveball this morning, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of got hit with a curveball this morning because I thought it was not due until January. All right, I thought it was not due until you know, the end of first semester, but it's not. This is due December 18th, right? So I told you guys that our content's pretty much going to be finished up on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So you guys will have time in my class to do this, right? So like, it's not extra time that you're going to have. I'll try to budget time for you to do this, but I'm sure you guys are somewhat aware of what junior interviews entails, or what it used to entail rather. But basically, it used to be the entire junior class, right, would go, you know, in their econ or government hours, they would go to the gym. There'd be a bunch of community members from businesses, and you would interview with 3 of the businesses, right? One that, you know, was a career that you were somewhat interested in, right? And then you'd have to interview in 2 other career pathways that you were not, you know, all that interested in, right? But you basically would have to interview, right? You'd have to sit down and talk to people and ask them about their jobs, and they would ask you questions about yourself and things like that. That's what junior interviews obviously used to be, you know, pre-COVID, right? So this is still a graduation requirement. It's set by the Board of Education, so you guys have to do this. There's not really a way to get around it. This lady right here, Wiki, I don't know what her name is. I think she's pretty new, but she did a very excellent job on finding an alternative, right, for this year's junior interviews, right? So all you have to do simply is figure out which one of the 6 interests you the most, right? Engineering, manufacturing, human services. So human services is kind of like everything, right? It's like police, fire, teaching, right? Just, you know, working with other people. Arts and communication, health services, business management, marketing, technology, or natural resources, you know, agriculture, right? Which one of the 6 interests you the most? And, you know, say you want to do health services, right? So you just click on this, and everything is just, you know, streamlined and pretty easy on here. And if you have questions about junior interviews, please ask them on here as well, all right, in the chat. But yeah, you just have to interview by the 18th. It's a one-way interview, right? So you're not going to interview with someone live. So like, don't worry, right? Like if you don't like your recording, you could just like, make a new one from what I've heard, right? And then the questions are here, right? You're asked, the questions going into it. You just have to address these questions in your recorded video, right? So you're going to click on go to your interview. I haven't gone here yet. I think, ooh, I don't know, you guys are going to have to try this. I think if you click this and you sign in with your Grand Blank account, you're already loaded into it, I want to say, right? And then you're basically just going to record a video, attach it on there, answering these questions, and that is it. But that lady that I mentioned earlier, and I think other community members are going to watch your video and give you, feedback on it, right? So that's what junior interviews pretty much is, right? It says attach a resume. I don't know if you actually need a resume, because in normal junior interviews, you don't really need a resume. I usually have students do it, but like no one collects it, so I don't think you have to have it. I think you'll be fine. So yeah, that's junior interviews, right? It's not all that crazy. Just make sure you find a time, and there'll be time next week for you to go on and do that. So whoever does it first, let me know how it went, so I can tell other students kind of what to expect. But that's it, right? That is it. It's not all that scary, and honestly, right, this is a positive externality. You don't have to do as much as other students have done in the past, right? Which is kind of nice. So let me know if you guys got questions with interviews. You have to turn in by the 18th. And if you guys could do me a favor, oh, I didn't make this an assignment. I was going to say, turn it in, even though you can't. Don't worry about that. But people, if you don't turn it in by the 18th, you will be contacted by the CRC, the Career Resource Counselors, right? And they'll let you know, like, hey, you didn't do your interviews, so now you have to do this, right, instead. So make sure you go on and do your junior interviews, all right? Next announcement is, well, here's 4.6. This is what we're going to work on during Google Meet today. All right, 4.6. That's what we're going to work on in Google Meet. But here's the Unit 4 FRQ that I posted, or not FRQ, but the problem set that I posted, right? This, a lot of you guys are going to be able to, start this after you complete your bank balance sheets today. You can chip away, on it on Tuesday a little bit, right? But this is going to be due Wednesday before class, and really just these FRQs, because I want to go over these FRQs on stream on Wednesday, because I think if you guys try your best on it, right, and then I go over these FRQs for all of you guys, right, all 4 of these, I think it's going to help you guys out a lot. I think it's going to help you out a lot. All right. Oh, you have to attach a resume? Dang. All right, I'll give you guys a resume template if you don't have a resume already. But again, people, don't stress about junior interviews, right? Don't stress about it at all. But yeah, anyway, make sure you complete this Unit 4 review by Wednesday, please, because if I'm going over the FRQs and you don't have these completed, it's not going to help you a lot. It's not going to help you a lot for the Unit 4 test. I mean, it's going to make your life easier because you're just going to be given the answers pretty much. But like, it's just not going to help you on Unit 4. So yeah, that's that. And then the last thing I need to post, I'll post in Google Classroom. I need to post your 4.4 key, the money multiplier key. So, all right, let's get to some of your responses, people. See what you guys said. Your favorite time of the holidays. All right, we got. Annabeth says, going skiing. Riley says, going snowboarding, right? What is better, skiing or snowboarding, people? Baking cookies. Ooh, Christmas cookies. Gingerbread men. I like it, Allison. I like it. Family time. Holiday activities like baking and skiing. Snow and hanging out with family. Spending time with family. Eating warm Chex Mix and watching Christmas movies. Ooh, people. Going to Chicago, says Michael. I've never been to Chicago, actually. But I bet Chicago's really pretty, especially during the wintertime in the city. Taylor says vacation. Doing programming and relaxing at the beach. What beach? What are you talking about, the beach? So you says shopping, people. I need to do my online shopping. Have you guys done all your shopping yet? I need to do some online shopping. And I'm going to try not to use Amazon this year. All right, I'm going to try to use other businesses other than Amazon, right? Able to focus more on my work, says Aiden. The food, traveling and family time, being able to see friends and family and skiing. You guys all like the hills. hanging out with my family and traveling, spending time with family, watching movies, the snow, and getting gifts for everyone I care about. I do love gift giving, and I like receiving gifts, obviously, but I love gift giving. It's super fun. Food. Oh, the food is fantastic. Got to be careful, though, people. Lots of good food during these times. Spending time with family and eating good food. Seeing my family and my friends. Christmas and New Year's in general. New Year's is pretty fun, for sure. Spending time with family, the decorations and good food. Time to relax and binge some shows. Jack Goldie, if you got any good shows, you got to let me know, because I feel like there's nothing currently on Netflix or Amazon or anything right now. I can't find any new shows that are cool. Being able to spend time with family, have time to do things I want to be able to do normally. It's pretty easy. It took me like half an hour. Oh, that's Lydia. Oh, you're talking about junior interviews, right? So yeah, most of you guys probably did it in your government class already, which is cool. Maddie says I took it already in AP Gov this semester. It was really easy, but yeah. So yeah, you might have to put a resume on there. People, I've seen high school students have resumes, and it basically says they lift heavy objects, and you guys know how to use a calculator, all right? You're not expected to have crazy stuff. Just make sure it's a resume that's like formatted nice, and like you just put things on there, like you babysit your brother. Make it cool, right? Again, do not stress about junior interviews. You have a lot of other things to, be focusing your attention on. All right, cool. All right, people. What I'm gonna do, like I said, is I'm gonna go over problem set 4.6. So here, no, 4.5. Yeah, I'm gonna go over problem set 4.5. I will post this afterwards, just so you guys can see the answers again. But if I were you, I would pull up your problem set 4.5, try to make two windows, and compare and see if you've gotten the same answers as me, right? And then also, even if you're feeling pretty good about it, just watch, right? And that way, you can kind of see how all these things work again. Just a little review from Friday. But people, what's nice about bank balance sheets is once you get it, it's easy, right? Because every bank balance sheet FRQ basically asks about the same items every single time. It's not that crazy. You're not gonna be hit with all these curveballs all the time. You know what to expect once you understand the concept. So obviously on the Unifor test that you're going to receive on Wednesday and or Thursday, you're not going to have FRQs, but I'm going to attach, like this, right, and then ask you questions like this, and they're obviously going to be multiple choice. So you definitely need to know how to do this stuff. All right, anyway, so we got Guru Bank in the United States. We have $50,000 in demand deposits. Remember, demand deposits is money in checking accounts. That's the same thing, right? Checkable deposits and demand deposits is the same thing, right? How much money is in people's checking accounts, how much equity has the owner, put into the business, and people we've never ever used this number ever. They never ask anything about this, so it's kind of a filler there. Then we got required reserves. This is the amount of cash. That's what reserves are. The amount of cash that the bank has to have on reserve. They're required reserves, right? Set forth by the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve sets what ratio that banks must have on reserves, cash they must hold and they can't lend out, in relation to the amount of money in demand deposits. And then excess reserves is money that the bank is free to lend out. It is cash that is excess, that they can do whatever they so wish to do, right? And then they have customer loans. Is how much loans have already been given. So it's an asset to the bank because people are going to pay back those loans over time. And then also this bank is holding treasury bonds, government securities, same thing. So the bank has bought bonds, as an investment, right? And then once they sell those bonds, obviously they're going to put all of that into excess reserves, and they're going to use that to lend out or maybe buy more bonds or buy some sort of other investment to obviously make more money. All right, coffee sip real quick. You guys like my cool mug? Yeah. All right, so what is the reserve requirement? People, generally that is item A, right? That is the first question going to be asked. We did look at that one FRQ that was asked, I think, in 2016, and they gave you the reserve ratio, and then they asked you how much is in required reserve. So they kind of flipped it, right? Same idea, but here the reserve requirement is always equal to the amount of required reserves divided by demand deposits, which is $50,000, right? Required reserves divided by demand deposits, right? So 10,000 divided by 50,000 would equal 20%, I believe. This is a lot of pressure because I don't have students be like, Mr. Moore, you did it wrong. You calculated it wrong, right? I'm kind of, you know, I usually have that in the class. But 10,000 divided by 50,000, yeah, that is most certainly 20%. Or you can write 0.2, right? If you wrote 0.2, that is fine. If you put it in decimal form, that is definitely fine. All right. What is the maximum amount of money that this bank can lend out at the current moment? So if someone walks in the bank right now, what is the most amount of money that they can possibly receive in a loan, right? That is whatever the value of excess reserves is, right? Excess reserves is money, cash, that can be lent out, right? So that quite simply is, you know, $2,000. That is the answer. It's just whatever is in excess reserves. Whatever is in excess reserves, all right? Okay, suppose that the Fed purchases all of the treasury bonds from Guru Bank. Right now, the bank has to willingly like sell those, right? The bank initiates that. The bank says, "Hey, I want to cash out these bonds, right? I want to sell these bonds to the Fed." So the Fed is buying the bonds. The bank is selling the bonds, right? To be clear, right? So it says, "What will be the immediate change in dollar value over time?" So sometimes again it says, "What is the new dollar value?" Sometimes it says, "What is the change in the dollar value?" Those are two different things, so be careful. On the problems that I give you guys today, one's going to say what is the new dollar value, and one's going to say what is the change in the dollar value, so you can kind of see both ways. And this says immediate, not over time, because if it says over time, right, we're going to have to use the money multiplier. But this says immediately, right? So if the bank sells all their bonds, we're going to put all of this into excess reserves, right? They're selling the bonds, right? They're like, here, Fed, I want to sell my bond, the piece of paper that I, you know, that I have lent to you, saying that I get this much back plus interest. Here's your piece of paper. Here's your bond back. I receive the money, right? I receive the $5,000, right? That's why when the Fed buys bonds, it's going to create an increase in the money supply. But the change in the dollar value would be increased by $5,000, right? We're going to put all $5,000 of that sale of bonds right into excess reserves. So again, this is why it's different, right? It says what is the change in the dollar value in excess reserves? It would increase by 5,000. This would go to 7,000. It says what is the new dollar value? Then obviously the answer would be 7,000. So you got to be really careful and read the question precisely. Okay, what's going to happen to what's going to be the change to required reserves? It's not going to change, nor will demand deposits, right? Because the only thing that's going to change required reserves is they change to demand deposits, or if the Fed changes the required reserve ratio, but they have not done so. No one's walked into the bank and deposited money in their checking account or withdrawn money from their checking account. So if this doesn't change, this definitely will not change unless the Fed changes the reserve requirement, right? So the change would be $0 for required reserves and demand deposits. Again, it made no mention to anyone walking into the bank and putting money in their checking account or taking money out of their checking account. So these will never ever change. Quite simply, if the bank sells their assets, right, sells some of their bonds, right. The bank is not going to sell their investments, sell their bonds, and put money in your checking account, right. I wish, but that would definitely never ever happen, right. So that is the answers for that. And then it says, what would be the maximum change in the money supply over time due to the bond purchase? So again, this is asking about the money multiplier. So we have to use the money multiplier. So the money multiplier is always the number 1 divided by the reserve ratio, right? So 1 divided by, we identified the reserve ratio was 0.2, right? 20%. So 1 divided by 0.2, 0.2 goes in the 1 5 times. The money multiplier is 5. All right, 5 money multiplier, right? So if we're talking about bonds, remember you just multiply the full amount, because when the Fed buys the bond back, right, they're putting all $5,000 of cash new into the system. A bond, I know I'm holding a piece of paper, but a piece of paper is not money, right? So when they put the $5,000 of cash in, that is all new money. That was not previously, money. That was not money in checking accounts. That was not currency. Out in the public or in reserves anywhere, right? That's new cash put in the system. That's going to be, so we're going to multiply the full amount, right? We're going to multiply all $5,000 times the money multiplier 5, and that's going to equal $25,000. And I'm going to make sure that I say increase because the Fed's buying bonds. We're putting money into the system. Increase increase of $25,000 of $25,000. All right, let me undo that. Let me undo this. That way we know exactly what the answer is. Oops. Okay. Right? Pretty good. All right. Next up, it says, suppose instead of the government purchase of bonds, so like pretend that never happened, an individual walks into the bank and withdraws. They take out $2,500 from their checking account at Guru Bank. All right. By how much will Guru Bank's total reserves change based on the individual's withdrawal? All right. So if someone's walking into the bank and withdrawing $2,500, how much will the bank's cash? That's what reserves means. How much will their cash change based on that withdrawal? Right? It quite simply is going to decrease by $2,500. Decrease. Well, I'm going to write decrease instead of negative. Decrease by $2,500. Right? If someone withdraws money from the bank has to give them that amount of cash. You know, so like that's quite simply the answer, right? Before we do the rest of the questions, let's yeah, because we're gonna at some point we're gonna have to, right? So let's change some of these numbers up here. So if someone walks in the bank and withdraws $2,500, right? This number is gonna go to $47,500, right? I took out $2,500 from the $50,000, all right? So this number obviously would now be $57,500. All right, cool. All right. Then we have to pay the person, right? So all we did was simply decrease the amount of money in checking accounts, but we have to give that person that cash. So we owe them $2,500. So excess reserves is where we're going to take the cash out first, if available. And it appears we don't have a lot of money in excess reserves. We don't even have enough for the full $2,500. So what we're going to have to do is put this as 0 and take out the remaining $500 from acquired reserves. So this is now going to be $9,500, right? And then move that, or no, and simply pay that person with the extra $500. So what all I did was I took $2,500 of cash out of excess and required, because I also had to dip into required. Remember, the last and final step you have to make sure is this is still the required reserve ratio, you know, in relation to this, right? Is this 20% of this? And actually, it is, right? 47,500. Let me double check that. 47,500 is, yeah, 9,500 is 20% of 47,500, right? It just so happened to work out that way by design a little bit, but sometimes there's excess, right, in here, and you have to make sure you put that back into excess reserves, obviously. So don't forget that. But so going down to F here, what is the initial impact on the M1 measure of money supply? No change, right? No change, right? This question's asked all the time on bank balance sheets. It's because they're trying to assess, right? Do you understand what is counted as M1 and what is counted as M2, right? Remember, M1 is traveler's checks. Here, I'm gonna write M1 equals currency, like cash and coins, right? Demand deposits, money in checking accounts, and traveler's checks, which we never really mess with. Traveler's checks, okay? So all we did was we moved money from here to here, right? So M1 equals all of that, right? Like currency plus demand deposits, and it equals some sort of number, right? So like obviously that number would never change, right? If we add up all this before this happened and then after that happened, this dollar value would remain the same, because all we did was move money from here to here. Just like if someone deposited money in the bank, all we did was move money from here to here, right? From currency to demand deposits. So no change, right? You know, the exact, you know, answer would be no change, because both currency and demand deposits are counted as M1 money, or in the M1 measure of money supply. So like it just does not change, right? All right. As a result of the withdrawal, what is the new value of excess reserves? We already did the work on that. That's $0, right? We already did the work on that. Usually you're going to take money out of required and put it back in here, but they just so happen to have enough. And people, if this is less than 20%, right, then you know, one, the bank is, you know, in violation, right? They're facing a penalty, but still you're not going to move any money into excess, right? You're only going to move money in excess if the number is greater than 20%. All right, last but not least, suppose that another person walks in the bank and withdraws a bunch of money, more money than the bank has, so therefore it's gonna put them in a situation where required reserves would be less than the amount of money in demand deposits, less than that required reserve ratio that they have to have. So how do banks get money, right? If banks need more cash, they have two options. Their first option is they can borrow from the Fed, and people don't say like Fed, say Federal Reserve, right? If it actually is an FRQ, borrow from the Federal Reserve. I just say Fed because it's, you know, quicker, obviously, right? They can borrow from the Federal Reserve, and I'm going to say this, right? Even though you don't have to, but the interest rate that they're charged if they borrow from the Fed is called a discount rate. Or they can borrow from a private bank, another bank, right? And that would be the federal funds rate, which is, again, very confusing, right? Because you would think if you borrowed money from the Fed, the interest rate that they charge you is the federal funds rate, right? It is not the case, right? That is the interest rate that you're going to be charged if you borrow from a private bank, the federal funds rate. Okay. So, yeah, that's problem set 4.5, right? So, I think we're ready to, we'll hop into Google Meet here in a second, but yeah, your 4.6 basically is two of those FRQs, and I changed some things, but basically it's all the same, right? It's all the same. So yeah, pretty light Monday, I would suggest. So we'll hop into Google Meet. We'll knock out 4.6. Check your 4.4 key. I'll post that right away. And then any time you have left over after 4.6, please use that time, allocate that to completing the Unit 4 review sheets, right? There's 2 pages, all right? Or 3 pages, I think. So I'll see you guys in Google Meet here in a second. If you need a 5-minute break, go ahead and do so. I'll see you guys very, very shortly.